What's up, South Bay? Welcome to the freshest episode of What's Up, South Bay, where we're all about showing you what's up by uncovering hidden treasures, vibing with the local hotspots, and kicking it with the coolest peeps in town. I'm Christine Frushon, and today I have the pleasure of sitting here with a true pioneer in the world of landscaping. Mike Garcia is the visionary founder of Enviroscape LA, who is saving the planet one garden at a time. With more than 30 years of hands-on experience in the horticulture field, Mike has carved out a unique path, seamlessly blending artistry and environmental stewardship. Enviroscape LA has not only earned a reputation as an award-winning business, but has also become a driving force behind sustainable landscaping practices. Mike's commitment to creating ecologically balanced and visually captivating gardens has set Enviroscape LA apart as a trailblazer in the industry. Under Mike's guidance, Enviroscape LA has undertaken awe-inspiring projects that contribute to a greener future. From the creation of a stunning 50-foot waterfall at the iconic Greystone Mansion to captivating exhibits at the Science Museum in Los Angeles, their work has left an indelible mark. Join us as we uncover the roots of their success and gain insights into the mind of a visionary in the world of environmentally friendly landscape design. Thank you, Mike, for being here.
I'm very honored to be asked to be here, Christine. Thank you.
You're welcome. So please share with us an overview of Enviroscape LA's mission and the unique approach you bring to sustainable landscaping.
Well, it all starts with where I was back in the 1970s. I remember actually toying around. I say toying around with drip irrigation back in the 1970s. Drip was invented in 1960 in Israel. It came into this country in the 1970s. And back then, we didn't quite have it perfected. And so, but I did know that LA was running low on water, even back then as a teenager. I went to Maricosta High School, got my environmental horticulture degree from El Camino College, the local college. Got my landscape contractor's license, tree service license. My whole life, just kind of evolved around just horticulture and landscaping. Just loved it. I've always had a connection with nature. And in the early 1990s, there was a group of us in Manhattan Beach. We saw that there was an area about a 1 acre site in Polywog Park in Manhattan Beach on Manhattan Beach Boulevard that was not being used very much. And so we got together, approached City Hall, and we asked, hey, you think we could put a botanical garden there? And I remember it was asked, well, why would you want to put a botanical garden? Well, it's a special botanical garden. It's only going to feature native plants. And back then people were like, well, what's a native plant? Why would you want to do natives? And I'm talking about early 1990s, right? And we said, well, it'll save water. And the response was, well, yeah, but it's $20 for all the water you can use. Why Oh, they said, okay, look, you've got our blessing. We're not going to fund it. You'll have to do your own fundraising. So, I went ahead and brought my company in. We did a lot of the volunteer work, donated a lot, and plus we had a lot of volunteers from the community. But we were able to get it done. And so a little over 30 years ago, the California's first coastal native garden opened up, known as the Manhattan Beach Botanical Garden. So I like to say we were green before it was cool, because now I get phone calls and it's like, do you do native gardens? And it's like, wow, 30 years ago, nobody even knew what that was. And so now I think aside from saving water, which we know that every day Southern California imports about 1.5 billion, that's billion with a B.
Wow.
Gallons of water every 24 hours that rolls around into Southern California. It's at a huge, tremendous cost environmentally. So now 30, 40 years ago, what we didn't know was that, not like we know now, and one thing that was not happening 30 years ago was we weren't seeing the colony collapse of pollinators. Now, pollinators are birds, bees, and butterflies. And one of the things that has been happening because of the glyphosate use, Roundup, because of the insecticides and herbicides, um, bees are dying at alarming rates. Butterflies are dying. And what we found is that though there we group these winged partners in life here on the planet, we call them pollinators. And without pollinators, if they die, I'll put it simply, if the bees die, they're going to take us with them. So the only food for pollinators is native plants. And so if you want to help save the planet, you've got to plant a native plant, or better yet, plant a native garden. And so 30 years ago, I don't think we were very conscious of that, but now it's the word is getting out to the point that City Redondo is actually putting into legislation that you to have a certain percentage of native plants into, if you're going to be building a new house to pass inspection,
Hmm.
get your final, you have to have a certain, it's just went into law. And the state of California is also proposing the same thing too to lawmakers. So it's very gratifying to be there at the forefront of that fight,
Yeah.
helping mankind. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay,
Yeah.
so as a pioneer in the field, what goals do you have for Enviroscape LA within the next 5 years?
Um, well, we, uh, what I've been finding is that there is no El Camino College recently did away with their horticulture program, and there aren't a lot of places in the United States where you can actually learn sustainable landscaping. And
Mm,
sustainable landscaping is essentially it's partner learning to partner with nature to get the best out of the
mm,
world for people, for pollinators.
yeah.
And there's places that give you a brief introduction, but no place that tells you how to install drip irrigation, or how to make the how to turn native plants into art.
Mm,
Because that, if it's a whole mindset, it's a whole different mindset. And also too, foodscaping is going to be more important. If you've gone to the grocery stores, you notice that food is going up along with gasoline. Well, I can't help with the gasoline, but I can help with the food. And so
mhm,
if helping the planet is real simple, saving the planet is real simple. Figure out who needs to be fed and feed them.
mm,
People and pollinators.
nice. Yeah, I know we have to bring back the backyard gardens, right? There
Right.
were so many more when I was a kid growing up here in the South Bay too, and
Yeah. And
yeah.
also, too, an interesting thing is that I had lunch with the West Basin Water District manager a few years ago, and anytime you go to your faucet at your house or anywhere, you see a faucet, you turn the knob, and what happens? Water comes out.
Mhm,
It's always been that way.
yeah.
You can attach a hose to it and you can spray it. I mean, there's pressure. Well, that doesn't just happen. There's actually about 20% of the electricity that's produced in California. 20% of the energy that's produced goes to power the pumps that bring water to our faucets.
Mm,
So I asked the general manager once, I said, we were having lunch, and I said, tell me, what would happen if, let's say, because we do live in the South Bay on the San Andreas Fault, LA is. And I said, if the big one happens, they've been talking about it my whole life, gee, what if we have an 8.0 earthquake? And those pumps that push water to our faucets, if those give out, how long will it take before they'll restore water again?
mm,
And his answer, 18 months.
wow. Hmm,
The average human can go without water a day or two, and then
yeah.
you're going to get real sick and dehydrate and die. Yeah. So, we need to start thinking about water security. And so one thing I've been working on is teaching contractors how to install rainwater harvesting systems. And in my own backyard, I have a 5,000 gallon rainwater harvesting system,
Mm.
and I built a waterfall into it. So, because if you're just going to try to tell a person, hey, look, there, because there's a cost to it, and to buy something for thousands of dollars that you can't see, that's going to be a hard sell.
Yeah.
So if yeah, if you throw a waterfall into the deal, a little backyard waterfall, you'll see tons of examples of the waterfalls we build with rainwater harvesting catchment systems, so that if there's ever an earthquake or there's ever an emergency and we don't have access to water, my backyard has 5,000 gallons of rainwater that I use in the summertime or just for emergency purposes.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, so you make it look pretty too. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, building a
Yeah,
waterfall. And also,
yeah, very
too,
cool.
a food security is something too. You know, we're so happy to see farmers markets pop up all over the South Bay. One of the issues with farmers markets is that these farmers have to drive from Fresno 3, 4 hours, 4.5 hours from
Mhm.
Fresno, California. That's a lot of wear and tear on our roads. That's a lot of gasoline we're putting in the air. And can we do better? I think if everybody grew a fruit tree or two fruit trees or put in a little victory garden in their backyard, that would be a start. So I've been pioneering some of the ways to grow food in soil and capture the water and reuse it the next day and the next day.
Mhm.
So the first Saturday of the month, I host a sustainability event in my backyard at 2 o'clock in North Redondo, and I show people how these types of systems are put in so that you can save about 95% water over just a regular traditional garden.
Oh, that's very cool. We'll have to get that on our in our notes for people to find that if they want to come and check it out.
Yeah,
Yeah. All
yeah,
right. Very
and
cool.
I have about 1,600 YouTube videos on my Enviroscape LA YouTube channel.
Okay.
That it's instructional. Yeah, how to build waterfalls, how to build rainwater harvesting systems. So it's all online. I don't charge any money for it. I
Mhm.
My information I give out for free, or people can hire us to build it. I just want to see our society becoming more sustainable, and a sustainability, I think, is it's such a often used word in our society. What I tell people is that they probably a better word for us to use rather than sustainability, even though it's a recognized word, and so that's why I use it. But I think a more appropriate word to use instead of sustainability is regeneration.
Mm.
And the reason I say that, I'll give you an illustration. I have a little cat. A cat brought in a big alligator lizard and in the kitchen, and so I've been bit by those things before, little teeth, and so I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, great. I take my shirt off as to throw it over it to walk it out.
Yeah.
So as I'm taking my shirt off, the cat already pulled the tail off,
Uh,
and I'm thinking, I'm looking. I throw it, and I'm carrying him out. As I'm carrying him out, I'm thinking, he doesn't, he or she doesn't want to have that short body because they use their tail for balance. They need to. They don't want to sustain the short body. They want to regenerate
mhm.
and that long tail for balance.
Yeah.
So our planet, I don't think we really want to sustain. If you watch any movies at all about what's happening to planet Earth with the global climate change, we don't really want to. We don't want to sustain what we have now. We need to regenerate or heal the planet,
Mm.
and then the talk in maybe 50 to 100 years is sustain what we have. If we make the change now to start healing the planet and regenerate.
Mm. Wow, that's so important. I can see.
Mhm.
That's an amazing analogy, though. I appreciate that. That makes sense. Because we have
Yeah.
what we need, right? We just have to
Yeah.
redirect it to the right place, right?
Exactly. We need to partner with nature. You how we got into this whole mess was about 100 years ago. I mean, most people up to about 100 years ago partnered with nature. After World War II, we were told, "Hey, you know what? You don't need to go back to the fields and grow your own food. we'll do it for you. About half Americans 100 years ago grew their own food. Today it's 1% grows for the 99%.
Wow.
And it's all chemical based. They spray Roundup, they spray this glyphosate, which is horrible for the body. Um, I don't. It's no secret that the makers of these chemicals have been sued in the tune of billions of dollars. So finally, I that's why I said it's better to put people before profit. But unfortunately, our society right now, it seems a lot of our society is profit before people.
Mhm.
But the people individually can make a stand and a choice to stand up for their health. And everything is connected. The soil, people, pollinators, everything is connected. And we all have to start making that connection if we're going to have a better future for us, for our kids, for our grandchildren.
Yeah, they're going to inherit our choices, right? Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
So now I should say that because I was a graduate of Miracosta High School, Manhattan Beach, I did help a young lady. She wanted to get her Girl Scout gold pin, I think it is. So her and her mom came by my place, and um, I showed them different systems, and they liked this one system where I had water, fish that I took the water that the fish lived in, and it's nutrient rich, and I pushed it through vegetable gardens, and then I went ahead and I recycled the same water over and over again, and it grew food. So they liked the idea, and then Eyewitness News got a hold of it, and this is about 9 months ago. They got a hold of it, and they're like, "Wow!" So they did a nice spot on it, put Maricosta, in the the limelight, so to speak.
Yeah.
But again, these systems that grow food and recycle water, you get fresh food because if you if you pick something and you eat it, you're getting the highest nutrient content that you could possibly get because the roots are pushing those antioxidants and the nutrients. But as soon as you pick it, nature tells you that it's like, okay, you're severed from the planet. Now it's time for you to go back into the earth and get recycled. And so if you're getting a tomato from, let's say, one of the grocery stores and it was picked 3 weeks ago, there's calories, but in terms of the nutrient value, you're not going to get the nutrient value you would if you were to pick it and eat it that night.
Mm.
And if you think that growers are that they're growing tomatoes because the most nutrient dense tomatoes, that's not really the case. Growers today in today's world, farmers grow tomatoes. Guess what? You know why they grow them to have a thick skin? Because if you're at Vaughn's and you pick up a 3-year-old picks up tomato and drops it and goes splat, that's not going to be good. So they grow them to make them the most consumable, kid proof thing they can. But in terms of nutrient density, that's something that you have to grow yourself.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, flavor wise too, right? There's nothing that compares to that fresh
Yeah.
homegrown tomato.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So if you partner with nature, it's real simple how life works. The sun throws energy. It's energy into to heat to us, but it's energy. Plants trap that energy and they turn it into calories and protein, fats, and carbohydrates. Of every animal, every insect, every person on the planet come from sun's energy. And even leaves that are on the ground, those still have energy in them, and that's
Mm.
so there's something called mycorrhizal fungi. A lot of people don't realize this, but they somehow think that the government needs to create a machine that'll just suck excess carbon out of the air, and then that'll solve our problem. No more global warming. Well, that machine has already been invented. It's called a tree. And the original solar panels were trees. And trees are solar panels. Trees do so much for us aside from our building our houses out of trees. They give us oxygen, they give us food, they give us furniture, they hold soil down, they give us so much necessary things, and that's just one plant, and there's like thousands of plants on the planet. But the plants that sequester carbon the most are native plants.
Hmm.
Very, very, very important. I talked about um, the pollinators, and if the pollinators die, they're going to go with them. One of the most important pollinators is our bird populations. Here's an interesting thing about birds and native plants. It's been I'm also a certified permaculturist and a certified naturalist, and so here's one thing I love doing: observing nature in the springtime. Birds lay their eggs and then they hatch, and you have these little hatchlings, two or three in a nest. It's been noted that baby birds are hungry and they want to grow their wings and sprout their wings and fly off someday. So the mama bird will leave the nest 500 to 600 times a day. And what is the preferred food of baby birds? It's not seeds, as we would think, because their stomachs aren't able to digest seeds. So their baby food of the bird world is caterpillars. And I'll give you an example. When a a new building goes up, a new home in Manhattan Beach, and it's a modern contemporary, one of the favorite trees for builders to or landscape architects to design out is, we're going to put a ginkgo biloba tree. Ginkgo trees, they're known for their medicinal properties for people, but they come from China. They're not native. And so it's been noted that there are two different types of caterpillars that will munch on a ginkgo biloba tree. Now you take a native California tree. Um, we've got if you want to see lots of native trees, go to the Manhattan Beach Botanical Garden. But you take any of the native trees, and they'll have upwards of 400 to 500 different types of caterpillars. So they're baby food machines. And the reason baby birds like caterpillars is because, well, I call them protein sausages because they're squishy,
Yeah.
they're easy to digest, and they're pure protein. Because where does protein come from? It doesn't come from a cow, it comes from a plant. What does a cow eat? Plants. And so the protein that's in that caterpillar, it's pure protein, it's sun energy. And that's what a baby bird needs. So again, it just underscores the fact that we need to plant natives, and that's on top of the ground. Native trees will provide a source of food for pollinators. Underneath the ground, what the tree does is it pulls in carbon through its leaves, and it builds its body out of carbon. It's the trunk, but half of that carbon goes into the ground and it feeds the mycorrhizal fungi. It's this fungus that actually builds its bodies out of carbon too, and it sequesters the carbon there. So, without getting really technical about it, plant native plants. That's my and if you need, there's a website called calscape.org, put out by the California Native Plant Society. They actually, if you put your zip code in it, punch it in there, they'll give you all the native plants for your particular area
Oh,
zip code.
very cool. Very cool. I know everything depends on the environment that we create, right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
our ecosystem.
Yeah.
And it's easy to forget about that in the daily grind that most of us are engaged in, right? So,
Yeah. Now,
yeah.
here's an interesting thing from a real estate point of view. I don't know if you've ever heard this, but it's a fact. The most irrigated crop in America is turf grass. Regular grass that people run and play on.
Mhm.
So there's a big movement out there to remove grass and put in natives. Now, I'm all for that. However, this week we just installed a tiny little lawn, and I did a YouTube video on it actually on Enviroscape LA YouTube. And the people are like, wait a minute, I thought you're the native plant guy. And I said, I am, but you've got to consider that there's also people and there's also dogs. And so in landscape design, I asked, one of the first questions I asked, do you have kids? Yeah. Do you have dogs? Yeah. And so this client I had this week, we built this beautiful waterfall, but then we also put just a little piece of about 150 square feet of grass, um, because the dog, they may not want to take the dog for a walk, so they'll just throw them, to
Yeah.
the, put them out in the back, or the kids may want to play. So I'm not like totally like, anti, like this is the way it's got to be. I'm not militant at all because I realize people have to live too.
Yeah.
We just need to
Mm. Yeah.
share.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about this fake grass that people are using now? Is that helpful?
Totally, totally against it. Totally
Yeah.
against it. Now I'll tell you why. Um, I get a call from a lady in Encino years ago, and I didn't really want to go all the way out there. It was a hike from Redondo Beach. So she kept calling. So I said, okay, I drive out there. And, Encino is like San Fernando Valley. And I drove out there in the summertime. And as I'm driving up, she had this native oak tree in the front. And that's what got me out there. She said, my oak, I mean, I practically built my house around this beautiful oak tree. I really, it means everything to me. And there was this stench of rubber. And so I asked her, I said, when did the new fake grass go in? And she said, it was about 6 weeks ago. And I said, when did you start noticing the tree turning leaves burning? She said, about a month ago. And I said, do you think the two are connected?
Mm.
And she said, I don't know. I said, well, think about it. Fake grass is a petroleum product, number one. And when the statistic is that when it's 100 degrees outside, the fake grass heats up to over 140 degrees. So I said, you have a hard decision to make because, I know that this fake grass is a fortune, but either the grass has got to go or you're going to lose the tree. So she was heartbroken.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So do your due diligence on fake grass. I'm not now. I actually have a friend of mine who had a couple, a few little strips, and so I had chickens, and it was always muddy and chicken poop. So I put a few little strips, between steps. I didn't think that was a bad thing. Is either that or gravel, but since they were going to throw it away, I went ahead and used it. But I just am appalled by all the fake grass that's going in, and underneath the ground. Bacteria and fungi are the key to healthy soil. They begin to die when they heat up to 112, 113, anything over that, and they begin to die. The soil food web does. And so you have fake grass. Not only does it not allow the oxygen gas exchange between the atmosphere and under the ground, but it also traps heat. And so you're basically sterilizing it. And if, God forbid, if you have a tree roots that go underneath it, kiss your tree goodbye if it
Yeah.
gets.
Never
Yeah,
thought about that. Yeah, we're actually poisoning the tree then, huh?
yeah. And then to end it with this, there's only a 7-year warranty on most of those trees. Excuse me, on most of those lawns. And so let's say 1 million square miles of this fake grass is in the United States. 7 years from now, that's 1 million square miles of that's going to fill our landfills. And how long does it take to break down? It's like a tire. It'll probably take 500 years. They really don't know.
Mm.
They haven't been broken down.
So yeah, so even though they're saving water in a way, they're causing more problems, bigger problems probably, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Wow.
exactly. The global heating effect, it just exacerbates it. It's making the area around your house, it's making your air conditioner work even hotter because the area around your house is just heating up so much.
Yeah.
If you had to have that grass look, you might want to do well, think about it this way. Where did the grass look come from? Who even came up with that idea? Well, remember 200-300 years ago, 400 years ago, um, people, for the Europeans came to the United States. And where did George Washington come from, and all that bunch? They came from England. Well, what's the weather like in England? if you've ever visited there or Scotland, it's raining almost every day. And so people don't even have sprinklers in those countries for the most part because it just rains so darn much. And so you bring that, rainy plant here to Southern California, you're going to have to use a lot you have to use a lot of water that we don't have and that's expensive. So something to think about.
Yeah.
Whereas native plants, they feed the pollinators, they sequester carbon more efficiently than anything else. We pride ourselves in Los Angeles for being this international melting pot. The problem was we we brought, people left their countries and they brought their plants with them. And I give this illustration to kids how what would happen if a new, let's say, a new Vons, a new shopping a supermarket was going to open up like a block away from you. It's like, wow, lucky me, I don't have to go there. I could walk there. But then, you see them building it, and the outside gets painted. They get it landscaped. You can see the lights inside, and then you can see a big crowd outside. The mayor is there. He cuts the ribbon with the Chamber of Commerce, and everybody rushes in, and the shelves are empty.
Hmm.
And you're like, wait a minute, something's not right here. And then you look and you look and you look and you find two candy bars, and people are fighting over them. It's like, hey, that's mine. No, that's mine. Well, you would think that you're like in the Twilight Zone. Well, that's the reality of what Los Angeles, Southern California is going through right now, because 100 years ago, people decided to bring their plants with them from all over the world, and we've created a food desert for the pollinators.
Hmm.
And I remember, I grew up here as a little boy. I was born in 1960, so I remember in the 1960s, we'd drive across town and we'd get back home, and the windshield was splattered with bugs because there were so many bugs back then. You don't see that anymore. Every time it rained in the 1960s and 70s, frogs would come out in the streets. You don't see that anymore in the South Bay.
Yeah.
So that's the canary in the coal mine, folks. We've really got to start paying attention to our environment, because there may not be a viable environment for the future. There's nobody's going to know. I don't think space aliens are going to knock on the president's door and say, hey, we're here to like solve all your problems. That's that's our work to do.
Yeah.
Responsible landscaping. I think that's part of the biggest thing we could do in helping our planet. But here's the thing: how do you reach people? How it's through education, and how do you make responsible landscaping look good? I think that's where the art of it comes in. And so that's why we build waterfalls, and we'll plant native plants around them, and it just takes years of study to get to that point. But there's not a lot of us out there. But I right now I'm talking to a few colleges who are interested in you know developing a program to teach more young people how to do this. Because imagine all the hundreds of thousands of lawns there are in Los Angeles or Southern California, and to pull them out and put native plants in, to partner with nature to make a national park. If everybody did this, we would save the pollinators.
Hmm.
But it takes education.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned that you do some speaking and teaching.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do some volunteer work. There's a few places I do volunteer work. Environmental charter schools. It's a school district. They've got a couple middle schools and a couple high schools, started by a lady named Allison Diaz, and she's a real firecracker of a lady. I mean, to actually start your own school district is incredible. But sure, the whole thing about her campuses is their entire campus is either food for people or food for pollinators, native plants, basically.
Wow.
So it's just up my genre. And then I do volunteer work with the South Bay Parkland Conservancy, which is a nonprofit, and they're all about restoring the beaches, Redondo, Hermosa, Manhattan, into native plants. So, and as well as the Manhattan Beach Botanical Garden.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you mentioned you have YouTube. So if people want to learn more about what you do and how they could be a part and do their part, then how would they do that?
Oh, I would say, one of my heroes is Professor Doug Tallamy. He's a PhD. He's the entomologist at the University of Delaware. He's written several books, and he has a YouTube channel. I think Douglas Tallamy. He's written a book on landscaping with natives. He's written a couple other books. How if he just shows the science. He's a scientist, so he shows the
Hmm.
science about how if we don't change the way we do things, um, we're going to die. However, he gives the key. The key is planting native plants, and so we can have a bright future. But it all depends on what choices we make. Just like our life, if you make the wrong choices, and you're going to end up on the street. And if you make the right choices, you're going to thrive. And we need to make those choices for our planet too.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you'd like us to know that you'd like to share with us, or if there's something exciting coming up?
Yeah. The I really love how things are starting to progress with the city of Manhattan Beach. The city actually hired me to come up with a design for Bruce's Beach. I don't know if
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I do think that Manhattan Beach has a lot of positive things that are coming its way. Um, I do invite everybody to visit the Manhattan Beach Botanical Garden. It's a 1 acre site inside of Polywog Park.
Yeah.
It's the crown jewel of the South Bay, and just familiarize yourself with native plants. We even have signage there. 30 years ago when we were installing this thing, we didn't know it would become the icon that it was today. We just thought we were just doing the right thing. But there's signage there. It's won awards, and I would say it's the most regenerative place in the whole entire South Bay. And if you're looking to get involved, every Friday morning, volunteers show up there at 9 from 9 to 11, and they do weeding and so on. Great little community. And then the other group, the South Bay Parkland Conservancy, you can look them up online, southbayparks.org. And they have a community garden that just got built. We did the irrigation for it. Um, we built a little solar powered fountain on site, and there's also they do ocean bluff restoration where they take out the ice plant and they're putting native plants there
Mm.
to help the pollinators. So you can they actually have a call for volunteers at least twice a month, 2 or 3 times a month at least. So I would highly recommend getting involved that way and
Very cool.
get your hands dirty and your feet wet and since you're at the beach, and then and then it just kind of grows on you. And
Mhm.
we need people to take leadership roles because there's a lot of interest, um, but there's not a lot of educators yet. So we need more people.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing the knowledge. And now, before we wrap up, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
Website is www.enviroscapela.com. I've also got my YouTube channel, enviroscapela.com. I have TikTok, believe it or not. It's
Mm.
Enviroscape. It's not Enviroscape, but Enviroscape LA, because we only work in the LA area. And Instagram, Enviroscape LA. And then I have the mother load I have about 60,000 photos on my personal Facebook page. If you just put in the search engine Mike Garcia Enviroscape, you'll see my personal Facebook page. About 60, at least 60,000 photos on there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have to check it out.
Yeah.
All right. Very cool. And so, well, friends who are watching, it's a wrap for this episode of What's Up South Bay. If you enjoyed the conversation, show us some love by hitting the like button. And I do want to hear from you if you have any questions or just want to Share your opinion. Please drop a comment below. And if you know anybody who needs to hear this message, please share. Such an important message for all of us and for the future of our future generations. So if you like knowing what's up in the South Bay, and you want to kick it with cool people like our guest today, then subscribe to the show and click the bell notification so you'll get to know the upcoming episodes. Your engagement means more than you know, because it really helps awesome businesses get more exposure by telling the online platforms to put this kind of fabulous content in front of more people. And if you're considering buying, selling, or investing in real estate, I'm your friendly local real estate agent right here. And so whether you're looking to make a move or you just have some questions you want to chat, I'd love to help you reach your goals and grow your generational wealth. And you'll find all our contact information below in the description. So thank you and shop local. Bye-bye for now.